How's it going, folks? My name is Rough Butter and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be having a look at Hillbilly Kitchen, and they're going to be doing a Cowboy Casserole. Now I'm quite excited about this one. A few of you guys have recommended I should say, Hillbilly Kitchen to me before. The first person to do it that I noticed was Danielle Winklespecht. I'm really sorry if I've butchered your name there. They mentioned they have a great southern biscuit recipe. I've done quite a few biscuit videos. I might have a look. If you guys want to see that video specifically, do let me know. But I had a look at this one and I thought, you know what? I want to see what this Cowboy Casserole is. It's that Kent Rollins. You know, he's got me in this cowboy mindset. I'm like, I want to see more of this. There was a couple of things mentioned that they're very religious, political and stuff like that. You know, I don't have anything against religions. I might not comment on it too much or anything like that, but we'll just see how it goes. But I am here for the food, and I am excited to see what these guys are offering, so let's get to it. Alright, folks, I'm really excited for this one. I don't have any idea what is going to be in this. I know what a casserole is. I've had a few casseroles. The fact that it's a one-pot meal, I don't know, I just feel like a load of stuff's going to be thrown in. But I'm quite excited to see the kind of ingredients and how different casseroles are over there to how they are over here. So I'm quite curious. But Hillbilly Kitchen, brace yourself, for you're about to face the judgment of the fat man. Let's go. Let's have a look.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen.
Howdy.
Today, we're making a Cowboy Casserole.
Let's go. Oh. Sorry, my groove just obviously threw it off. Tune? Absolutely. That banjo playing? Yes. 10 out of 10 every day of the week. All right, let's see if I can try and figure out what's going in here. Well, I can see some ingredients on the right anyway. So we got potatoes, we got tomatoes, we got garlic, onion, maybe cheese on top, a bit of beef mince, some beans it looks like. Okay. Potato cakes? Maybe? Is that what these are? On the plate? I can't, maybe? But folks, we got that butter in there. We've got that butter in that, folks. You guys with your butter, I love it.
Now, we're going to go over the ingredients here
I got very excited. All right, let's go. Let's go through the ingredients. We got this.
real fast, and then we're going to talk about some different ways to cook this and some different stuff you can put in it.
Okay.
But I got about a pound of ground beef.
Nice.
About 6 chopped up potatoes here.
Yep.
A can of tomatoes. They're just diced tomatoes.
Yep.
An onion.
Yep.
Some spices, salt, pepper, garlic.
Excellent.
About a cup of shredded cheese and a can of red kidney beans.
Nice.
I'm going to get my hamburger meat started because the very first step is to brown that ground beef.
I think it's crazy. I found this out when watching the Paula Deen video, I think it was, that you guys call mince beef hamburger. Like that's just hamburgers. I find that crazy. That's wild. Or hamburger meat, as she said. But obviously that's what it is. But obviously, I don't know. You use it for so many other things. I just found it wild. Just thought I'd add that. Let's get that hop going. Whack it on. Oh, look at that pan. Look at that juicy pan. That is a thick boy. That is a thick, stunning boy. 10 out of 10.
Once our beef is browned, well, actually before it's browned, I'm going to toss in my diced onions here with it.
Let's go.
And let them cook.
That is a lot of beef, to be fair. I've just realised, like, that is some chunky amount of beef. It didn't look like that much in the bowl. But now I see it in the pan. Dang, fair play.
While my beef is browning.
Yeah, we got some.
Now, you can cook this in a crock pot or your Instant Pot.
Yep.
If you were using one of the instant programmable pots, you'd want to go ahead and put your onions and your spices. And what I've got here is just about half a teaspoon of salt, half teaspoon of regular black pepper, about half teaspoon of minced garlic.
I was going to say, is that garlic? So we got salt, pepper, garlic. I have a bad feeling that that last thing is sugar because of how it is. But maybe it's not. Let's find out. Let's find out.
And then I've got just the tiniest bit of sugar.
I was right! 10 points to rough butter. Pretty crazy, though. I wasn't expecting sugar to be in something like this, but hey, if that's the recipe, that's the recipe. Just adds a bit of sweetness to it. Yep.
Well, that's because I'm using tomatoes. And probably that sugar needs to be in my tomatoes, but I've already mixed it in here. So I'm going to go ahead and dump it in here. It'll be fine.
Sugar with tomatoes. Sweeten it up. I could see that. I could see it.
The spices are all to taste and they're all optional. And when we get done, you want to taste this.
Spices are not optional. They belong in all cooking. 0 options. Add seasoning, folks. Add seasoning.
And adjust them. You know, adjust the salt and the pepper, and
more.
You might even want a little more sugar in it if you put sugar in it. But anything that has tomatoes, just a tiny bit of sugar really brings out the flavor, and it cuts the acidity and makes it much better. And you're using it like a spice now, not a sweetener. So when you use sugar like that, keep that in mind, and don't overdo it, because nobody really wants a dessert casserole for dinner.
Which was what my thought was when I saw you were putting sugar in there. So 10 out of 10. Fair enough. Fair enough. You carry on.
And it will very quickly turn into that.
Yeah.
If you want to do this in a crock pot, you still need to brown your ground beef like this. If you're using your Instant Pot, of course, you can turn on the saute mode, and you can brown your ground beef and your onions and stuff in your Instant Pot.
I love what you're cooking it in, and I'll have one of those, please. Yeah, I need that. Need that beautiful machine that it's not a machine, but pan that you use in there, and that giant spatula as well. 10 out of 10.
But like I said, that's step number 1.
Okay, step number 2, let's go.
Now, if you're doing it in a crock pot, you're going to cook it for 6 or 7 hours, maybe even 8 hours. Like if you wanted to go to work, just turn it on low and set it for like 8 hours in the morning. All you'd have to do is ground.
So like slow cooking a chili, I imagine it's sort of similar situation. I feel like with the beans included, it seems like it's going to be close to like a chili con carne sort of situation, maybe, possibly. Who knows?
Brown your ground beef and throw it in there, and then you just layer all this stuff in your crock pot.
Okay.
And when you get home from work, it's ready. Or if it's on a weekend and you just feel like having a lazy day out sitting on the porch, but you want dinner when you come in, put it in that crock pot, turn it on low, and let it sit there and cook.
Just let it go.
7, maybe even 8 hours.
Yes. It's
going to depend on how big your potatoes are. And if you're cooking it on the stove, it's also going to depend on how big your potatoes are. Because the potatoes are really the only thing here that is not cooked. Now, if you don't have kidney beans, you can use any other kind of bean. You could use black beans, pinto beans, even northern beans or something to work in this.
All the beans. Do you know what? Why stop at one bean when you can go for all beans? That's my motto in life. Why stop at one? Just throw them all in. Every bean. Make it a bean casserole. A cowboy bean casserole. Just a suggestion.
Or if you've got some leftover beans, put them in here instead of using a can of beans that cost $1. If
Nice.
you've got fresh tomatoes in your garden, dice you up a couple of cups of fresh tomatoes instead of buying the can.
Out of curiosity, folks, because obviously I've watched the Celebrating Appalachia and Kent Rollins and stuff, and it seems like they all go locally grown, or they all have their own gardens where they grow their own fruit and veg. Is that quite a common thing? I mean, there's a couple of people that I know here in the UK that will grow their own food, but I feel like it's a lot more rare. It's not like really popular. Is it quite a popular thing over there? Let me know down in the comments.
So, use what you've got in this. And you could throw like a packet of taco seasoning or something like that in this.
Okay.
Use the same recipe, just toss that taco seasoning in there and make a totally different meal out of it sometime.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what it is that we're actually making. I know it's just a casserole, but to me it just seems like a chili. That like the kind of thing, or it's just something that we're just throwing everything together, slap it all together, and that's a meal. That's the kind of vibe I'm kind of getting, but I'm still just trying to figure out what is going on.
And the cheese is kind of up to you. Like I said, I've got about a cup, and you're going to add that after everything else is cooked. Yeah. Whether you do it in your crock pot or Instant Pot, or you do it on the stove like I'm doing it here.
On top.
Once everything is all cooked, then add the cheese and just let it sit there and melt. And you can pop this in the oven if you want to and brown your cheese, but that's not necessary. We've done a lot of stovetop casseroles, and that's what I'm doing with this one today. I'm just making it on the stovetop.
Yep. Nice and simple.
Pretty much any casserole recipe too, you can make it in your crock pot.
Look at that. Look at that sizzle.
You can.
That was nice. Some good sizzling right there.
And also add your favorite hot sauce into this, or some hot peppers, bell peppers, chop them up and throw them in here with your hamburger meat. Just whatever flavors that you like. If you like this spicy, spice it up.
So it is a very adaptable dish. That I'm still trying to figure out what we're making and how it's all coming together. But again, like I said, it just seems like it is just a throw it all together kind of situation because of what she's talking about. You can make all these adjustments to it, make it spicy, obviously make it mild, have that taco mix, make it more of a Mexican sort of spiced sort of food, that sort of thing. Interesting.
Once your beef is cooked,
what makes it cowboy? This is where I'm trying to get at. What makes it a cowboy casserole over any other casserole? Let me know down below.
You either want to drain it or maybe just adjust the amount of grease that's in your pan.
Yep.
Now the hamburger grease is going to give your dish flavor, but the fat also adds calories and helps fill you up.
More calories. That's what we need. Calories aren't always bad. Some people need fattening up. So all the skinny people in the world, keep the fat in.
Talked about that in a lot of videos. So if you have a lot of people to feed and you don't have a lot of food, you might want to leave more of the fat in there because it is the part of the food that actually makes you feel full. But if you're on a diet, or especially if you're watching cholesterol and stuff, you would want to take it out as much as possible. So adjust that kind of, depending on your dietary needs and your budget.
Yep.
How many people you're feeding, all that sort of stuff would affect how much grease you leave in here.
That's fair.
This was fairly lean meat, but it still has quite a bit of grease. Baby. So I'm going to take some of it out just because I don't want it all in there.
That's fair. That is one problem that I can have when cooking like beef mince is the amount of grease. Like it's fine for certain dishes, but I feel like sometimes you just need some dry, like a more dry mince. Because especially there's been times where, say for example, I made a lasagna and I've left the grease in because of how it is. The lasagna has basically turned into lasagna soup. I don't know how I did this. And yeah, so I think for something like that, which is quite saucy as it is, I think trying to reduce that as much as possible is good. But it's still good stuff though. It's still good stuff when you do leave it in. You can tell the difference. Oh, soak it all. You should have just got some bread. Should have just got some bread.
And if you're using an iron skillet, you might not want to try to hold it and drain it, because that's a good way to spill your dinner. I've done that more than once. And that little paper towel trick there works really well, especially if maybe you don't want to take all the grease out of it.
That was good. I've never seen anybody do that before. I like that. That was a really good idea. I've never thought about doing that. 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Let's go.
Now that the beef is cooked, I'm going to layer this just like you would layer it in your Instant Pot or in your crock pot.
Yep.
I'm going to put my potatoes in next.
Okay.
And if you're on a low salt diet, don't put any salt in here until everything is cooked, because you won't need as much if you wait until the end. Just kind of spread them potatoes out. And I didn't drain my beans, but if you're on a low salt diet, drain your beans and even rinse them, because they will have some salt in them unless you buy the no salt one.
I like this. I like that she's been adaptable in terms of people's nutritional needs. I like that. I think that's really good. Like, if you're on low salt diet, this is what you need to do. If you don't mind, then you can have it as is, or with the grease and stuff like that, or the potatoes. I like that. I think that's a really nice touch. I mean, being able to adjust the dish to meet people's dietary requirements. Nice. 10 out of 10.
Or you're using leftover beans. And this is certainly a good recipe if you've got some leftover dried beans. And then I'm going to add my tomatoes in here.
Let's get those tomatoes in there.
And the only liquid in here is from my beans and my tomatoes.
And from the beef, if you leave it in. But obviously she didn't that time, but if you do, then juicy.
If you wanted to add some kind of stock to it, you could. But I really think it has plenty of flavor like this. Now, if you're doing the Instant Pot or the crock pot, put your lid on and set it for about 8 hours. 8 hours. If you're doing it on the stovetop, turn it down because you don't want it to burn. And you are going to check on it and probably have to stir it before it's done. Because on the stove in a skillet, it will burn before your potatoes get done.
Yep.
If you need this done really fast, I mean, if you're trying to get dinner on the table super fast, you can even use the canned potatoes in this, the whole ones or the diced ones.
Okay.
Drain those, though.
I don't know how I feel about tinned potatoes. I'm just saying, we have tinned potatoes over here, but when I've had them like a couple of times, and they're just not fresh potatoes. I don't know. They just don't do it. They just don't do it. But I suppose in something like a casserole, where it's just adding something extra, it's not going to bring too much to it. It's just kind of fleshing it out. I suppose that'd be alright.
Want to put that water in it, it would be too much liquid in it.
Yeah.
You can also, and what I do a lot of times, if I find ground beef on sale, even the stuff that they maybe have marked down, I will fry it all with a little salt and pepper and onion and maybe some garlic in it.
Yep.
And then I vacuum it and freeze it, or wrap it up in small packages and freeze it. And you can take that already cooked ground beef out of your freezer, and on a weeknight, you don't have to stand there and even saute the ground beef. You could just throw some cans with that ground beef in a pot, cover it up till it got hot, take the lid off, add your cheese, cover it back up till the cheese is melted, and you've got dinner.
That's fair.
This is
that is fair. I like that. That is a good hack. A good life hack, folks. Freeze your cooked meat. Unless it's chicken. That's a bit dodgy. Try not to do that as much as possible.
Excellent recipe for those weeknights when you want to throw it in the crock pot or the Instant Pot and then go to work and come home and have dinner. It's a good recipe for a lazy weekend, and it's a good recipe for camping. I know a lot of folks are camping this summer. It's an inexpensive vacation, and it was something that we have always enjoyed doing with the kids, and it's something that we all still do. Everybody in the
Comment down below, what is your favorite food to have whilst camping? Because I know camping is huge over there, or from at least what like media tells me, like films and TVs and stuff. Everything's about camping. Everything. But that just might be that. There is camping over here. I think a lot of people don't like it. I love camping personally. I used to be in the Scouts, absolutely loved it, adored it. Great times, but I know it is huge over there.
Family still likes to go camping and, you know, sit around in the evening, and something like this is just perfect for dinner when you're camping. So this is kind of one of those recipes that you can hang on to and use it just about any time. In the winter time, mix it up and put it in a casserole dish and put it in the oven and let it bake in the oven and sit there and smell it. But in the summertime, I definitely do the Instant Pot or the stovetop, you know, just because you don't want to heat the house up.
Would you layer it the same in the oven? Does it? So I was thinking maybe I put the potatoes on the top, give it a bit of a crisp, so like a bit of oil on top, crisp it up a little bit, you know, so you just add a bit of, you know, bit of extra texture in there. I think that's what I'd do if I were to put it in the oven. So I'd layer the other stuff on top, so it become more of a, maybe like more of a hot pot kind of situation. Is that what this is? Is this a hot pot? I've just realised with the potatoes in there. Is it a hot pot? I think we're getting somewhere, folks. What makes it cowboy?
But it's a good recipe for any time, and any beans will work, canned or fresh vegetables will work, and just about any seasoning you want. And like I said, some chili powder or a packet of taco seasoning or something like that will totally change it. If you want to make it the same thing that you've got the ingredients for, but make it taste different, throw that in there. And this would be really good served with a pan of cornbread or something, which is a quick, easy bread, fairly inexpensive to make. And as the wheat,
I don't think we have cornbread over here, unless we. Oh, do we? Maybe. I think I've tried. No, I think I have tried cornbread before. Maybe once. I don't know.
It's a little harder to get a hold of, and the price of flour goes up. I know the price of cornmeal is going to go up some, but not as much as the flour, I don't think. So, you know, cornbread is a great alternative, especially when you're having dinner.
Yep.
And in the summertime, you know, you can do the hoe cakes and fry it in a pan instead of turning the oven on and heating the house up making cornbread.
Yep.
And we're probably going to do another fried cornbread recipe just because folks are having to make more bread. It's getting more expensive, and that's a really good pan bread that you don't have to heat the oven up to make. So we'll do that sometime here in the next month or so and show you how to do those. Now, I do have up a hoe cake video, which is a fried cornbread, but it is a very, very basic recipe.
I think I have a video planned for hoe cake. I think someone recommended that. Or I might have seen it. I have no idea what a hoe cake is. Is it just cornbread? Is it just a fried cornbread? Is that right? I have something planned, I think, for it. But I have never, ever heard of a hoe cake. Ever. Why is it called a hoe cake? Let me know.
And we'll do something different with that.
Okay.
Speaking of times like these, Deuteronomy 31:6 says, "Be strong and of good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, he it is that doeth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee."
Knowing scripture off by heart is dedication. You gotta have respect for that. That is dedication. Now, I know little bits and bobs, but yeah, I can't. That was a lot. That was.
I know that it may be well, I know it's getting worse. Prices are going up. Things are getting hard to find again. There's more and more shortages. And it is
Mm-hmm.
very hard to not be afraid, to not fear.
Mm-hmm.
But as Christians, the Bible tells us over and over again, God is with us. He's not going to fail us. And we should not be afraid. Fear is not of God. And as Christians, we should be showing the world now that it's going to be okay because our God is great and He supplies our needs.
I think it's a nice message. I think I think it's nice. I think it's pleasant telling people obviously these are tough times. It's hard, it's difficult. Whether you have a belief in God or not, it's essentially saying, you know, it's gonna be okay. And folks, it is gonna be okay. Whether you believe in God or not. Whether you believe God will supply all of our needs or whether you don't, things things do get better. And there you go. Just thought I'd add my own twist onto it.
And now is the time for us to show the world that. There's all kinds of, well, there's a study that's all over the news
Mm-hmm.
that says that people, fewer people now believe in God than ever before.
Yep.
I'm not sure I believe that.
Oh, I was just about to be like, yep, that is true. uh, I mean, especially over here, I know for a fact that in the UK we are not very religious orientated. Like there are quite a few people that do still have beliefs, but I feel like if you like take atheist and agnostic versus religious, I don't know. I think it'd be quite interesting to see the figures. But a lot of people that I know are not very religious, or at least don't practice their religion.
There's an old saying that says, hard times build strong character. And I think strong character comes from God. And we are in one of those times now
Mm-hmm.
that puts us as Christians in a position to show the world what strong character is and to show the world what a strong God we serve. So don't lose this opportunity and don't let the current conditions shake your faith, take your peace, or make you afraid because we have nothing to fear.
Just to add on to that, because as I said, it's a nice message. Times are tough at the moment. Times are tough everywhere. There's a lot going on. Yeah, as Miss Hillbilly Kitchen here did say, when times are tough, don't lose your faith. Whether that be in your religion, whether that be in yourself or in society or in anything. Things always get better.
God is with us. He will not fail us and He will not forsake us. Okay, I've had this cooking on low for maybe
Let's
15
go. Back
minutes
to the
now.
food.
And I actually didn't have to stir it. I checked on it a couple of times. Sometimes I do though, but it still has plenty of liquid in here.
Nice.
You can see.
Bubbling.
And
Very
what I
juicy.
did to check it is I just put my fork here kind of in the middle and made sure it wasn't sticking to the bottom.
Yeah,
and
if
you do that, you can tell, that there's nothing sticking. And it's all right. You don't need to stir it. Now, if you cook this in your crock pot or your Instant Pot, it's going to look pretty much just like this. And you should be able to stick your potatoes with a fork, and they should be done. That's how you check your potatoes to see if they're tender. And that's really all you got to do to make sure that your casserole's done. Now, if you put this in the oven, I said in your crock pot or your Instant Pot, slow cook or low, 7-8 hours. In the oven, you want to do 350 until your potatoes are tender. A tip that somebody else gave when I did the other potato casserole, they said when they're in a hurry, they throw their potatoes in the microwave for a couple of minutes before they cut them up to go in casseroles, and it speeds up that cooking time.
That's interesting. I've never heard that before. I've heard that. So I know a lot of people will part boil them before they put it into something, or if they make like roast potatoes or something like that. So they partially boil them so that obviously the part way cooked, and it just usually adds to fluffiness with roast potatoes, so it just helps speed up cooking process. But microwaving them, that is a new one. That is the first one.
Whether they're doing it, on the stove or crock pot or whatever, if they want it quicker, they just throw the potatoes in the microwave for a little while and get them soft. And you can do it in just a few minutes in the microwave. And again, it saves time cooking, so it doesn't heat up the house as much.
Yeah, fair. Especially at the moment,
you can
it's
leave it
roasting.
kind of more layered, or you can stir it up a little bit. And I like to mix mine in just a little bit, kind of get the.
I'm not gonna lie, that sound of that fork scratching that pan. That is going through me just a little bit. I am struggling with that one, but it's okay. We'll get through it, folks. We'll do it together. I just need you to hold my hand.
Tomatoes and the beans and the ground beef and the potatoes kind of mixed up a tad. Now, you don't want to do this in your crock pot and stuff till in the end, and you don't have to do it at all. But I like to do it before I add my cheese.
That's fair.
If you've got kids and you're feeding a big crowd, and maybe your kids brought somebody home with them for dinner and you didn't know they were coming over, you can throw another can, even 2 cans of beans in here if you need to.
Folks, like I said at the start, don't just throw all the beans in. All the beans, that'll solve all life's issues. Beans are good for your heart. I won't finish it because the rest is rude, but they're good for your heart at least.
Or, if you've got leftover beans, you can use quite a few. It's just whatever you need to do, because you can see that's not overrun with beans there, and it still has plenty of meat in it that it could season a couple of more beans than what's in there.
True.
And you can also throw extra potatoes in. Potatoes are really filling, and if you've got a crowd to feed, they're a good choice. And you can also grow potatoes yourself pretty easy. And I think we're going to do some alternate ways to grow potatoes and kind of show some of those on here.
Okay.
And ways that you could maybe keep them growing later in the season.
Ooh,
if y'all are...
That'll be interesting to see. I don't know anything about farming, gardening, anything that kind of stuff. I don't really have a garden myself. I've just got a little yard at the back. No grass or anything like that. But yeah, that is interesting. Folks, as I mentioned before in the Appalachian one, if you want to watch me react to the gardening stuff, I'll do it, folks. I'll do it. I'm telling you now, I'll do it. I will. I'll do it.
Are interested in seeing some of that, leave me a comment so we kind of got an idea how many people are interested in it. And if there's a lot of people that want to know how to do that, we'll do a video on it, or maybe even 2.
Maybe even 2.
Okay, once you're...
You are spoiling us. 2 videos. I would love that.
Potatoes are done, no matter what method you're using, go ahead and put your cheese on top. And if you were going to put this in the oven, I'd wait till the potatoes were pretty close to done before I put my cheese on top, because...
See, I'm just thinking here. Now, you folks know, if you've seen any of my videos before, you know that I don't like cheese. But I have certain rules for cheese, like I can have a little bit on a lasagna or a pasta bake, or I don't mind I don't mind a cheeseburger sort of thing. Essentially, the rule is if all the other flavors overpower the cheese, then it's fine, because I like cheese when it's cooked in the oven and it just gives something a nice crisp. So like when with something like enchiladas, cheese is such an essential part on top because it just gives it such a good crispy layer. And I was thinking with this, if, like I said before, if it was made in the oven, if you put a bit of oil on them potatoes, get them crisping up a little bit, so make the potato the top layer, crisp them up with the cheese on as well. I think that'd be juicy. I think that'd be a little bit tasty. You know, that texture coming in with the sort of juicier, soft, sort of, I suppose, mushy sort of texture with everything else, adding a bit of crisp in there might just elevate this to the next level.
As it will kind of burn it even in the oven before the potatoes get done. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut this stove eye off because, like I've said before, this iron skillet on this gas stove, it'll burn on the bottom really quick. And you just let that sit there for a minute until the cheese is melted. If you're doing it in your crock pot on low, it might take 15 minutes for it to melt.
Yep.
But it won't take too long. And in the oven, if you're doing it in the oven, 350, you're probably going to have to cook those potatoes at least an hour if they're, raw potatoes. Now, if you use canned potatoes, that'll speed it up and you could throw the cheese on it when you put it in there. But after about 45 minutes or so, take it out and then put the cheese on it and put it back in the oven for 350 until it's done. But this is a really...
Yep. I mean, cheese only doesn't take very long to melt in the oven, really, does it? It's, 10 minutes max? It's one of them.
Easy, really good one-pot recipe that's good for all 4 seasons, and you can make it different ways depending on the season or what you're doing. I mean, if you're camping, you'd certainly make it like this. And in the summertime, this or the crock pot or instant pot's how you're going to want to do it. But in the winter, stick it in the oven, let it heat up the house, smell it cooking, and
the smell of cooking on a cold day, if it's something like good, or like if it's something slow cooked and mum's left it on all day and it just smells all across the house. Delicious, very delicious.
Spice it up if you want to. Now, seeing that,
spice it up, folks, just like your lives. Spice it up. That was an order.
About a minute to melt that cheese, and it's all gooey and bubbly. Oh my heavens. Something else you can do is you can make it more basic, like what I did here, and then you can add the hot sauce on the table.
Yeah.
And that way the folks that don't like things super spicy and super hot, they can still eat it. And the folks that do want it super hot, super spicy, well, they can spice it up. And that's kind of always a good option if you're feeding a lot of people.
Yep.
And if you're just feeding 1 or 2, this is a good recipe because you can cut it down and you can use your leftover beans and, 1 small fresh tomato and, just whatever you got to kind of substitute these ingredients and make it work. It's a very basic recipe, so it's easy to cut it down and it's easy to use what you got.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can go. Let's go back to the shop. There we go. Okay, folks, let's talk about this. So, a couple of questions. What makes it a cowboy casserole? That's one thing I want to know. Is it just because it's just whatever they've got around? Something like that? Is it? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to need people to educate me on that one. As far as the actual dish goes, yeah, as she said, it's pretty basic, pretty standard, pretty standard stuff. Definitely not like a chili. Definitely not like a chili when I first thought of it. It's definitely a lot closer to what we'd call a hot pot, which is just like your meat, some veg, potatoes thrown in there. But then again, with the tomato mixed in, I guess, yeah, it does make it more of a casserole over a hot pot. But yeah, it's just a pretty standard casserole. The cheese on top, personally, I don't think I'd put the cheese on top in this situation. As I said, I'm not a huge fan of cheese, but I think I would put cheese on top if I did it in the oven and just to give it that bit of a crispy sort of layer on there. But folks, do you know what? Pretty standard. 7 out of 10. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I'd maybe add a little bit more seasoning to it personally. Add a bit something extra to give it a bit of spice, give it a bit of pizzazz, that sort of thing. But as far as the basic recipe goes, pretty standard, pretty easy, pretty solid. Do you know what I mean? Can't really go wrong with a bit of tomato, potato, beans and and minced beef. Do you know what I mean? Like beef mince, I should say. You know, you can't really go wrong. It's just pretty standard stuff. As I said, I probably added in a bit extra, but 7 out of 10. Pretty solid. All right, folks, that is all from me today. I felt like I didn't have too much to say throughout the video because it was all just pretty standard stuff. You know, they were using ingredients that I was quite used to anyway over here in the UK, so there was nothing really crazy that sort of stood out. So there wasn't too much for me to say, but I really enjoyed it. I thought she was putting a nice message across as well in the middle, you know, talking about how things are tough and things will be okay. I thought that was a really nice touch, bit different to every other video that we've watched, which it's quite nice. It was quite a nice change, and as I said, it was quite a positive message, stay strong, that kind of stuff, and I liked it. But yeah, overall, food was pretty solid. Folks, I'd be happy watching this person again. They seem really pleasant, you know, they seem to care a lot about what they do. I loved the fact that they mentioned all the dietary requirements and stuff like that, and gave a lot of different options. I suppose it was one of those dishes that does allow for a lot of different options, but it was good. I really enjoyed it. Folks, if you want me to watch more of this person, I'd really appreciate it if you let me know and comment down below. If there's a specific dish or anything like that you think they've absolutely smashed, or they say something, or there's something that you think will just blow my mind, then please let me know down in the comments. But folks, as I said, that is all from me. If you did enjoy the video, I'd really appreciate it if you were to just give it a very cheeky like. If you want to see more of my content in general, I'd really appreciate it if you were to just ever so gently tap that subscribe button for me. We don't whack it over here, we do only tap it. We're soft with that subscribe button. You know, it means a lot to us. It's free, there's no need for us to disrespect it. And folks, if you have any suggestions or if there's anything that you want me to watch moving forward, then please comment down below and let me know. But as I said, that is all from me, folks. I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And I will catch you next time. Bye for now. Bye!